How's it going, guys? In today's video, I'll be showing you how to grind 7 Elten's rotation at Hystria, considered to be the best and main rotation at Hystria currently, and I'll be re-showing the important stats that you should consider that I already mentioned in my previous video that I covered on Stars End. So if you've already seen my Stars End video and already know about my stats, you can go ahead and skip to the timestamp that I have on the video to get to the rotation and commentary. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and replay the footage so you don't have to look at my Stars End video for detailed information. And other than that, let's go ahead and get started. So let's start off with the basics. My gear. So here's the gear that I'm using to grind with. Pen heaves with Catfrest level 6. 2 Tet distortions. Fucking excellent. My Tet Ergons. Tet Bassi belt. Tet Kazarka Catfrest level 2. Tet Dandy Catfrest level 3. Tet Kudum. Tet Ogre. Tet Begs. 2 Tet Cresses. And the Tet Dimshit Catfrest level 2. And of course the Vel's Heart, obviously. And with that, I'm at 275 Kudum main hand. Well, since I'm Succession, that's all that matters. 278 Awakening and 308 DP. And even though I already showcased the crystals I used in another video, I'll save you the trouble and show you the crystals I use anyways. For my Pen Heaves and the Tet Dimtree, both have a Han Maclods. Jin Hystrias and Ergons, Crystal of Elcars and Kazarka, Corrupted Magic Crystals and Kudum, and finally Jin Vipers in my gloves. If you can't afford the Elcars and Kazarka, go ahead and just use the Precision Crystals. Next will be how much accuracy I have, and to calculate this I'll go ahead and plug in my gear completely on videoplaner.com, where if you choose create a character, you can select your level and even choose the adventure books you've done to add those stats as well. So my total accuracy according to Video Planner is 407. If you want to see where the accuracy comes from, here's the list of them. You can also see other stats below that also factor in and compare it to yours. Essentially, the rule of thumb is if you have enough accuracy, you should be able to hit your mobs more often than not and have consistent DPS. Here's how the idea of accuracy works. If you don't have enough accuracy, that's less times you'll be hitting your mobs. The less time you're hitting your mobs, the less DPS you'll have over 1 hour. The less DPS in an hour means less trash loot. The same applies to PvP as well. So if you have the same AP but not the accuracy, you'll find yourself not having as much trash loot. I'd recommend having at least 400 accuracy as a solid baseline, but if you're just under me by 20 or 30, it shouldn't affect you too much. But if you are 50 accuracy less than me or more, then you should definitely work on getting more accuracy in my opinion. Then we have my resistances, all 20%, as I don't give a fuck and trust my abilities and I get CC'd often in Stars End. Then lastly, additional stats for critical hit damage 22%. Extra damage to all species 29, and extra AP against monsters for 68. And last things to mention on Video Planner is I am currently level 62, and the books that I have completed are Bartali's, Thieves, and Doran Morgrams. Next thing to cover is your Pve Skill Add-Ons. These are very important for grinding and are always a must unless you want to casually grind, of course. First things first, Crow Flare with plus 10 defense and casting speed minus 7% for the target. Not only do you use Crow Flare a lot, but it's always good to have more defense for protection, and the minus casting speed is actually good because it acts as a slow for the mobs, which pretty much just slow down their attacks. That's kind of like the general idea. Then we have Bloody Calamity with casting speed plus 10% and HP recovery. HP recovery is self-explanatory, easy sustain, and the casting speed helps to reset the timer when it's used. Next is the Shadow Eruption for monster damage plus 25 and casting speed plus 10%. You can choose between Violation, Midnight Stinger, or Shadow Eruption for monster damage based on your preference. Since Shadow Eruption is the first major damage ability used in my PvE combo, I put it there for preference. And the casting speed is always good to have at the start of your combo. Then we have Dream of Doom for monster damage and casting speed. Again, just to reset the casting speed and monster damage timers for the most part with how I use Dream. It usually comes after the main parts of my combo, not including Dream Pulls. Then Abyssal Flame with critical hit plus 10% and mana recovery. The mana recovery is pretty good here since if you group them up well, the AoE of Abyssal will hit plenty of targets to give you a considerable amount of mana. As well as the Abyssal crit hit will be pretty juicy whenever you use it. And lastly, the nastiest skill add-on to have for a Sorc both grinding and PvP, Absolute Darkness with accuracy and critical hit rate. The critical hit rate is always huge and the accuracy is always welcome. These are my preferred Pve skill add-ons. Feel free to make adjustments to your liking. The only thing I'd recommend is to at least have one major monster damage ability, as well as everything else with accuracy and crit if possible, and everything else is just as self-explanatory. Then to follow it up, I'll go ahead and show you my preferred grind ability rotation at my AP. So you'll start off with Absolute Darkness with S, R, and B, then followed up with Midnight Stinger, Shift, and L and B, then Shift and F for Scattering Eruption cancel, then immediately press E for Crow Flare, into B kick R&B, into S and C for backslash, and hold C to float into Violation. Then flow into Dark Flame with S, LMB into R&B, then iframe nearby and hold LMB R&B to quick cast Abyssal Flame. Then afterwards hold S R&B into LMB for Black Wave, and hold F after the fourth wave, then W and LMB for Ultimate Eruption if needed. If the mobs are still alive by then, you can activate E for Cold Flare, hold space for Bloody Calamity, then proceed to activate Bloody Dream by throwing Calamity and Dream one right after another. If the mobs are still alive by then, you can activate Shadow Ignition with Shift and X, or you can skip this, then Engulfing Shadow with Shift and Z, into backslash S and C, hold C for Violation, into Dark Flame S LMB into R&B. So that's the ability Roto you'll see me use throughout the video that I find works best for me. Now for the discussion of pets. This one is pretty simple if you don't already have at least 5 tier 3 pets. So if you don't have 5 pets or all tier 3 pets, you may see a lack of trash loot since anything tier 2 and below won't be fast enough to get you trash. As for me, I have 4 tier 4 pets with 1 tier 3. I can pretty much get away with not having to pick up trash, and they usually pick them up for me. Sometimes I'll pick up loot a few times, but not that often. I trust my pets to do their job, and I just worry about getting from camp to camp fast. Then a quick note of how to use your Z and E buff. This one is pretty simple and also makes the most difference, enough for a 300 trash difference from my experience of using it incorrectly and correctly. All you have to do is make sure to use both of those buffs whenever they are up. So as long as you keep an eye on both of them, you'll know when they are ready to use. Lastly will be the consumables. Here we'll be using the Exquisite Cromwell, as this is going to be the better choice for Hystria mobs. Body Enhancement Villa buff, best buff for grinding, then a Giant Strut, the most popular and best choice for grinding, Spirit Perfume Elixir. So this helps you gain mana by attacking mobs, so you don't have to buy mana pots. This is my personal preference, but can be a bit costly, but if you're making money from trash, it doesn't matter. Then of course your normal loot scroll, and lastly your active Vels. If you don't have a Vels, you can either buy the Sharp Alchemy Stone of Destruction, Sturdy Alchemy Stone of Destruction, or possibly the Polished Alchemy Stone of Destruction. The Sharp Alchemy Stone gives you the same passive, just not the 3 AP. Alright, so in this next part, I'm actually going to show you how to get to 7 Elten, since it's going to be a little bit tricky because there's a lot of different ways you can go from, but I'm going to be showing you how to get there from this vendor that you essentially have to go to sell your shit, and all you have to do is pretty much just watch me walk all the way there and just memorize how to get there. Alright, so now that we are on the grind part, the pulls, the rotation, I'm going to teach you how to do it, the commentary of it. And first things first, before we even do anything, you will run Exquisite Cromwell. This makes a huge difference, so much that I was actually doing simple Cromwell before and I didn't think about it. I was only making about 4.1, 4.2 trash loot. The moment I used Exquisite Cromwell, I made roughly 5k 5.1 on average. So that back attack damage plus 5% and the critical hit damage plus 5% actually makes a huge damage, enough for 800 trash loot difference, literally, because it makes sense. You're not actually getting the down attack you're getting from simple Cromwell. So with Hystria, always use the Exquisite Cromwell. Now we can go ahead and start the grind video. I'm just gonna, do a basic rundown of how and why you're gonna do certain pulls. So this way, this is where I start personally. This is just preference. So you can start either way. It doesn't really matter. You're essentially making like an infinity 8 sign when you're doing 7 Elten because it's put up into 2 different rooms. I like to start this area, just personal preference. So you're gonna go into this area. You're gonna pull those guys as well. Pull them up to here. The name of the game here, you just want to get behind the Elten, or really just Elten, just because they're not only more HP than these guys, but also it's just like a kind of a good spot to group up on anyways. That's kind of why I group up there. And this next spot, you want to pull all of these guys if you can. You can get in the middle and you could actually just crow flare. It should possibly aggro everyone. Sometimes if not, you have to use Marcus Shadows, the black chain lightning, whatever. That works too. So whichever way you want to pull these guys, that's up to you. But you want to make sure when you're passing by, grab all these guys if you can. So when you get those guys, that's that. Get behind this Elten if you can. Just do your usual pre-buff into the PvE combo rotation. You'll see often a lot I do get stunned, or I do get stiffened, or let's say knockback. It's because I have shit resistance and I'm not actually optimized for Hystria. I have 20% resistance on everything, so I'm gonna get CC'd easily, but I'm not really here to not get CC'd. I'm just here to show you how to do the rotation and get optimal trash loop. But if getting CC'd by these guys often is an issue, you just need to either A, iframe more, or B, just get resistance crystal. That's what I would recommend. So after this pull, you will possibly pull this guy out here. The more mobs you kill, the more open slots for aggro limit will pop up, and a few of the guys will pop up from this general direction, so that's fine. I wouldn't really worry about it. Just bring him on to the next pack if you can. Finish off this guy. Then you're gonna pull these guys here and a whole row of mobs here. That's essentially what you want to pull on this side. You'll see them pull up from my Marcus Shadows. After that, same deal. I'm gonna iframe here and try to pull all these three essentially, and that's essentially the pull. You don't really have to get specifically like on any spot in this pull. Honestly, I just like to group up on this edge here, and just, you know, they'll group up naturally the more you move around and stuff. So you can just do your usual shit, pre-buff, blah blah blah, violation, black wave. And then this next pull, you essentially want to grab those mobs over there. You can't really see it right there, but you essentially want to just throw a quick dream and just throw all of those mobs there. Over here, you want to grab these guys if you can. And then you want to essentially just go back to this guy known as a Bolton. So this rotation, even though funny enough is called 7 Elten, you actually only kill 6 Elten and this 1 Bolton. Otherwise, if you do the full version, you're going to get a lot more Boltons, but that's how this specific 7 Elten is done. So if you ever wondered about that, yeah, that's a fun fact. There's actually not 7 Eltens. It's 6 Eltens and the 1 Bolton, but it's just easier to say 7 Elten. This guy's going to be here, this other Bolton. That will happen when you do try to aggro these other guys from this camp. If it happens, that's fine. You don't really have to worry about him at all. If you want to yank the mobs to his side and kill him as well, you can. If not, don't worry about it. Just be cautious because he's going to CC and knock back you, and it's actually going to be annoying. So kill these mobs if you can. You don't really have to worry about him. Just kill majority of them if you can. Kill this Vodkin. And then this next pull, I got stuff in there. Next pull, you just want to pull these guys, and you want to also group up over here. So this next pull is just all of these guys essentially. Yank them up with Marcus Shadows, bring them all in, and then you just want to go ahead and begin your combo PvE shit. Violation, Dark Flame, Abyssal, Black Wave. Then next, you're just gonna essentially bunny hop, iframe, or do your movement combo rotation. It's up to you. Next pull is gonna be tricky, so this is probably debatably the hardest pull. You'll see why. And this pull, you want to make sure that this Elten is aggroed, whether you pass by him and he automatically just gets aggroed, or you can just hit him with Marcus Shadows. Most people don't really like try to touch him anyways, but in the event where you have lingering aggro from the previous pack and you walk through and he just doesn't get aggroed for some reason, or it's delayed, you probably do want to Marcus Shadows, but ultimately you just want to run through. Then you're just going to run all the way in this spot if you can. Reason why this spot is because it for some reason makes that other Elten walk all the way over here, because I guess it has to kind of walk around this, whereas if you're standing here, the Elten will actually just stop over here in that area. So you'll see what kind of happens. So this one's a bit, you pretty much have to be patient. There's no other way that I know of outside of just waiting at any of these spots. I believe this one's probably the most optimal. We don't have a blocker S block, so you're gonna have to spam E for Crow Flare. This is the only frontal you have that you could just reasonably spam as like your block. And then while you're just waiting, you'll notice the Elten actually makes his way over here. So when he does, now you have him nice and grouped up. So this is where you can just go into your usual shit, clean them up, and just try your best not to get CC'd and just clean them up just usually. Yeah. Then this next spot is fairly simple. You just grab everyone in this area. This one's probably one of the easiest pulls. Not much to say about this one. This one's pretty easy. You can easily do this on your first try. Not a hard pull at all. Just don't get CC'd like I do, even though I have low resistance. And clear that guy up. Okay. Gotta make sure that shit's up. And then next pull, fairly simple. You want to iframe forward and try to aggro those guys as well. So that's all you have to do for that pull. So pretty self-explanatory. Here you just clean them up. Same shit. Then next is going to be the Tanko pull. Yeah, so this is not even a Baltan or Elten pull. This is actually a Tanko pull. The way I like to pull this, and this is just preference, so you can actually find multiple ways to do it. You can actually just stand in the middle and do a full 360 of this entire area and just Marcus Shadows everyone. And that's the way I like to preferably just yank everyone into aggro. Then I like to iframe behind and just do my shit from there, essentially. That's how I usually do this pull. You can find another way to do it in your own way, whether you want to throw Dream, Calamity, maybe you want to pull Tanko first and pull him from there. But that's just how I like to do Tanko. Just get in the middle, 360 aggro, then go. That's what I like to do. Next, we're going to grab these guys. I like to just throw Dream. You can honestly just iframe Marcus Shadows and iframe here. Your preference again. I like to throw Dream and just get it over with. Get to this pull. Try to get to the back part of Elten. Try to iframe, otherwise I'll get knocked back like that. Kind of happens. And nothing much else to say about this one. After this, it's just simple cleaning. These guys, I got pulled back because I was kind of too far. That's fine though. If that happens, no big deal. Just move on. Then we're gonna rinse and repeat the same shit. Gonna pull these guys, pull those guys. Yep, pull these guys. Nothing much else to say about this one. This is also another easy pull. Really not hard to pull off. Can't really mess this one up. Then we're gonna go on to the next one where you gotta make sure you pull these guys up with either Crow Flare or Marcus Shadows. Then hop on over here. Making sure you're trying to not get CC'd and getting out the optimal spot. Clean them up as best as you can. And then here, same deal. You want to grab all of these guys over here. On the other side, same deal. Then just group them up. Yeah, this one's pretty... Yeah, once you master this one's really not that hard to pull off though. Also, an easy pull to do after like the second or third time. Next one, you can throw a Dream here or here. I'd probably recommend here because wherever you throw a Dream, that's where they tend to walk. Because I threw a Dream here, they're actually going to walk over here rather than my next spot over here. So that's another downside to throwing Dream here if you're angsty. I'd rather just honestly be patient and just like Dream over here. I only did this just to see what would happen, but I knew very well that me dreaming over there is going to cause them to go to that side. But gotta aggro these guys. And I think you'll see in the video, they're going to, yeah, see, notice how they're kind of walking to that spot. But it's not too far from where I was anyways. Other Baltan was aggro, that's fine, happens, whatever, don't worry about it. Once you've cleared the majority of them, gather these guys, get these guys up, and then yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do for Summon Elten. You could do full extended. I could do a video on that later on where you do the full room, because we do kind of cut off this room. We don't do the other side because it would kind of become 9 Elten at that point, even though it's not even more Eltens, it's just more Baltans. But anyway, that's 7 Elten basically. From this point on, you just see me repeating the same thing over and over again. Here I just walk by and make sure that these guys are aggroed. Same deal. Yeah, so there's really not much to really say. This pull will be the hardest. And see, even when I stood here, like there's always something I could do wrong in terms of aggro, and he stands here in the middle, but that's fine because you could just go to him. The mobs can still walk to the Eltens. They're not that big of a deal if this guy's like this, you know, far away. This Elten, just clear him up. Here, just pretty much grab everyone in this area, clean them up. And yeah, there's really not much to say about this pull. Next pull though, same deal. As I said before, just iframe forward, aggro them, easy. Iframe back. Do your usual shit, pre-buff, clearing, and at this point, yeah, the pull just seems, after you see me pretty much do this, the first loop, the first run, you'll pretty much have an idea how it's supposed to be done. Like it's really just the 1 or 2 pulls that are a little bit specific, but everything else is self-explanatory. Then I do the 360 as I showed before. Got knocked back, happens, not a big deal, just don't get thrown off by it. If you want to run resistance crystals and you see yourself being in Hystria for a while, go for it. it is definitely worth, I think, investing in, because for someone who may not have the DP, they could die just from constant CCs. I don't really have the issue anymore. Like, I pretty much can get CC to not give a fuck. It just messes with my DPS and trash power. But cleaning this Elten here, I decided, fuck it, I have enough damage, I can just clear the guys real quick, and that's that. So that was like my other run. I'm pretty much just gonna like do a commentary on this entire pool once more, and then that's pretty much it. Like, there's really nothing else to talk about, because pretty much it just becomes like an easy like concept. Like, unlike Stars End, even though you do have to get a little bit tricky with the Elten pools, I still think Stars End with a lot more pools is a little bit trickier to master, just because there's a lot more dragging involved, there's a lot more density involved, and a lot more dream pools involved. This one you really could honestly get away with not dreaming at all, except like the one spot that I'm about to do and then the second here. Other than that, this is just, yeah, a little bit easier. The only issue is these fucks do like to CC you more often than Stars, and that's why I actually don't like Hystria anymore. When I was grinding here, I forgot how easily it was for me to get CC'd by these guys. It was actually fucking annoying, but it is what it is. So honestly, don't have to worry about that shit anymore. Thank God I'm at fucking Stars End now. But Hystria, this is, yeah, this is definitely a great spot regardless if that's where your gear is at, though. Nevertheless, yep, same deal here as I said before, Third Dream. And I think in this pull I do not pull the Baltan. Great, yeah, so this is your optimal. This is how it should be. You want to pull everyone from that edge, not the Baltan. So this is how this pull should be. But again, I think there's a way you can manipulate that depending on where you throw your Dream, but that's up to you to kind of practice. These guys and then pull these guys, and yeah, that's it. That's literally it for 7 Elten. It's 6 Elten and the 1 Baltan. That's what you do. You want to extend, it becomes 7 Elten extended, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that's literally it for 7 Elten. Yeah, just practice the pull where you have to do 7 Elten on this one over here, get that down to a T, try to get the other pulls down, and that's it. Yeah, as long as you have the gear, you're running exquisite, you should be able to reach a pretty decent amount of trash loot. And if you check the other details I had in the beginning video, make sure you have at least what I had to make sure you're not missing accuracy, etc. Other than that, that's it. If you have any other comments, questions, concerns, let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Other than that, hopefully this was very helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.